Hey guys, Zangetsu 134 here, bringing you another Kamen Rider Build review, this time with Kamen Rider Build episode 35. I know it's pretty late since I'm basically one day before the episode airs, but that's just how my schedule went up. That's how long it took me to find the episode. But anyway, in this episode, with Ryuga now being the body of Kamen Rider Evolt, the other riders struggle to hurry and find Gentaku, aka Kamen Rider Rogue, who has the last full bottle. After a desperate struggle with all three riders trying to defeat Kamen Rider Evolto, it ends in failure as he manages to get all 60 full bottles and activate the Pandora's box, creating Pandora's tower. With this, it signals the end of the world as Sento watches the beginning of the end. So yeah, this episode picks up right exactly where the last episode ended, which leads to Bill desperately trying to prevent Evolt from taking the Pandora's box. He fails, obviously, but is only in that he loses the Pandora's box. I actually like that they remembered that Gentaku had the Phoenix full bottle, as it was what he uses to fly around in the Phoenix mode he uses with the Trade Steve gun. Sorry. I also liked seeing all the remaining riders working together against Evolt. We also see that Master the Soichi, I think Soichi. I'm really terrible at remembering a lot of their names. I know. I mostly called them after their rider forms. But Soichi is finally freed of Evolt's body. In doing so, as he was absorbed into Banjo, as Evolt needed him to basically reach hazard level 5, which is basically, I guess, the max. So I guess he'd be more closer to Evolt in a way that he could absorb him. But yeah, and we also get a little bit more that Sento / Katsuragi's father was actually blackmail, or I guess maybe not blackmail, but forced into repairing the Evo driver after he got back from Mars in Soichi's body. That way he could have the Evo driver finished. But yeah, and so like he could use it. I also like that Nanba Heavy Industries, the president and Utsumi clearly are realizing how much of a danger that Evolt is, as they realize he lied and that like only he can use the Evolt driver, which is weird because I'm assuming they must make another one since that's how Mad Rogue happens, but we'll see. My guess is that Sento will make one, or after the events of next episode, we'll definitely see something different. But yeah, like, because basically Nanba Heavy Industries president only wants to use the power at zenith. Basically, he doesn't want to open the box. He simply wants to, or at least only open the box when it's at max, or maybe keep it like a nuclear warhead. Basically, that once they have the genie out of the bottle, you can't close it. I actually kind of realized a lot how like the Pandora's box is very much basically like a nuclear weapon, because there's always an analogy with nukes that, like, once we took the genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. And that's a lot of ways how the Pandora's box was in Greek mythology, that all the worlds horrors and tragedies were stored in the box, and once Pandora opened it, there was no way they'd be able to get them back in, except that Hope was still in there. And seeing as how I think next episode we get a version of Hope from Sento in the form of a small cube that I guess comes out of the Pandora's box or something along those lines, which will probably most likely be the Genius full bottle. Although, another thing in the previews of the next episode is we see that Sento using the Evolt driver, which I'm guessing means that like he'll also get possessed by Evolt, because one of the forms for Kamen Rider Evolt is the rabbit build form, which is using the rabbit a new rabbit full bottle and the rider system full bottle, which I'm looking forward to. I'm curious to see what happens there. Who knows? Maybe this Sento will become this Sento with white hair will become a Mad Rogue. But we'll see. I'm also curious to see how Mad Rogue will work anyway, since the Bat and Engine full bottles are a part of the Pandora's box now. Also, it's weird because like the Pandora's box, like after all the bottles are put on, all the bottles appear on the outside, even though whenever they slapped on the box before, it led to the bottles disappearing. But I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work, but we'll see. We also get, once again, Evolt challenging Sento's view on science, in that eventually people will create technology and get lazy and not think about it, and eventually that will lead to people misusing the science and creating a war. I actually like Sento's response in that, yes, science does make mistakes like that, and science messes up, but science also constantly researches and re-experiments over and over in the hopes that they can learn from their mistakes. And it's just kind of an interesting thought process around Sento, in that he realizes, yes, humanity is flawed, but the greatest thing about humanity is that we can learn from our mistakes and get better ourselves. Showing a sense that like humans can evolve just the way like Evolt is evolving. We also see Sento trying to use some of the other hazard forms. Like he uses Pirate Reisha and Dragon Lock, as he felt Rabbit wasn't going to work. Especially because Evolt says apparently that he can now endure the effects of the hazard trigger a little bit better now that he's able to have a sense of self, and also from using the full bottles to kind of give him an anchor. Although it doesn't work for very long. I do like him trying to use Dragon Lock in a symbolic way to try and rescue Banjo. I just think it was kind of foolish for him to do that when he could have just went into Tank, which he does at the end anyways, but granted, it doesn't do anything, even though it's arguably at this point his strongest best match. Which, like how Rabbit's his fastest. And he eventually loses, and all the full bottles that he took from the Toto panel, or maybe it was, I can't remember exactly which panel it was, but he did take a few off the Toto panel. I mean, obviously, because he uses Kaizoku Reisha and Lock Dragon. But he basically eventually loses when apparently he hears what he thinks is Ryuga's voice, but in actuality, it's just Evolt mimicking Ryuga's voice, I guess. And so, eventually he gets all the full bottles and he makes Pandora's Tower. And, it's basically going to lead into the end of the world, or at least we think. My guess is due to, like, events with Ryuga's body, like, that won't come to pass, especially because the next episode, like, they don't talk about it at all in the preview. So, I assume something happens. But yeah, I think it's a good episode. If I only had any complaints, it's mostly In that Ryuga decided to try, or not Ryuga, Sento decided to use best matches that with the Hat Black Hazard trigger that really wouldn't utilize the power very well. I know he can control it better, but it was foolish of him to try. I also didn't, in my opinion, I think it was foolish. I mean, granted, he used like the strongest combo he had from the original full bottles, that of Lock Dragon, since it was so powerful, not even his body could control it. Although I think that had more to do with the fact that the Dragon full bottle was so synchronized with Ryuga that it made it almost impossible for him to use. We also didn't really get an explanation for how Evolt can copy the weapons of Build, as he uses both the Taka, the Gatling, the Taka Gatling gun. I can't even remember its name because it's been forever since Sento A used it and B even showed up in the show, as well as using the Beat Crosser, the Ryuga's sword. He actually made a copy of Ryuga's sword, and they sword fight with them with the regular Beat Crosser and the clone Beat Crosser for a moment. It would have been nice to know Evolt could do that, because I don't remember him doing that before, because he never pulled out Nin Comics sword or the Vortex Crusher or the Kaizoku Reisha bow and arrow thing. Yeah, I don't remember almost any of Build's weapons, especially because he hasn't used any of them in forever, especially once he created the full buster. But then again, that happens a lot with Kamen Rider, that they'll have weapons in the earlier forms that they pretty much stop using once they get the final weapon. Unless you're a Kamen Rider guy, and then you use everybody's weapons, because, yeah. But anyway, I think that that pretty much is my only complaints of the episode. I liked a few of the other character bits. Like, I like Grease kind of conflicting with himself, wanting to, like, talk to Mithon, but at the same time, he knows Misora needs to be comforted. And it was kind of a fun little moment to kind of ratchet down the tension for a little bit. We also see Misora being completely useless again because Vernage doesn't come out, and she gets knocked out by Ryuga, or rather, Evolt Ryuga. And so, yeah. She once again does nothing. I liked the fact that Gentaku, like, at first doesn't want to work with them until, like, Sento points out, you're not, like, the same Gentaku anymore. You should really, like, stop with the heroic stuff and, like, actually work with us so that we can maybe put an end to this. I mean, they still fail, but it was at least a nice attempt. But yeah, I think really that's it. This episode was basically more or less just an episode to show off the Pandora's box and to give the basic ideas for what's going to be, I guess, the final arc of the series. At least I'm assuming we're getting pretty close to the final arc. The final form for Build hasn't arrived yet, and we still haven't gotten Mad Rogue or the last two phases of Evolt, but I'm sure they're coming, and I'm pretty sure that, we're very much closing in on the last arc. Technically we probably have two arcs, because I always consider getting the final form and then to be its own arc, and then we get to the final arc. And you could also argue that maybe we are in the final form arc, since form arcs usually, at least in Build, seem to be kind of more episodes that deal with how Build needs to get stronger. And then we get the episode where he creates the thing, or, sorry, trying to hold back a yawn. And then, he ends up creating the invention he needs to save the day. We'll see. I'm also curious to see how Ryuga will get free, because I really doubt we're going to not see Ryuga anymore. I'm sure Evolt will find some way of getting a new body. whatever the case may be. Or maybe Soichi will take Evolt back at the cost of, like, permanently losing himself or his body falling apart. But you never know. This show does tend to play with my expectations a teeny bit. Not always, but it does. Of course, we need to see Mad Rogue. I'm curious how that's going to happen. But otherwise, I think this was a good episode. I think it's definitely a good episode, and I can't wait to see the next episode. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it. Next up is going to be a My Hero Academia episode. And when Kamen Art Build ends, or when I get a chance, I'm going to actually try to re-upload episode 15. Well, I can't re-upload it. I'm going to have to rewatch episode 15. Because for some reason, I can't find episode 15 in my channel. Either it got deleted, or I did something and it didn't actually upload. But I'm going to fix that eventually. So that I can at least have all the episodes, even if I explain that this episode's probably going to have a different date that seems to come in a different order. But I'm going to try and figure out a time to do that. I also know Heisei Generations has come out. I'm pretty much going to try and hold off on doing specials and movies until after I finish the series. Or at least find a good time to watch it. So we'll see what happens. I usually prefer to watch the series without trying to find all the side stuff. Even though I know the movie's important because that's where the Baikaisers came in, and they're the reasons why we had the Gear Bros. But yeah, guys, that's the state we're at. And I hope you guys come back for the next vlog. So until then, guys, I'm Zangetsu 134. Take care.